Welcome to the Wingmen Show. We're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots. Rumble. Welcome to the Wingmen Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown. My wingman, my friend, my partner, the guy who watches my six is Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother Paul?
Yes, Mr. Drew, I'm doing just fine today. It's going to be a great day, and I'm looking forward to the show.
Good, Dr. Paul. I'm looking forward to talking to you, bringing in that good news. And, you know, Dr. Paul, anybody who listens to us on Apple Podcasts or you watch us on YouTube, follow us on the gram. And you can even subscribe to us on YouTube. Dr. Paul says, don't smash that button, just hit it lightly. But if you would subscribe to us and like us and maybe even write a review, we surely would appreciate it. So this is the Wingmen Show, and we are sponsored by Magic Mind, Dr. Paul. And I took mine this morning. How about you?
Just about 25 minutes ago, I took it.
Oh, you'll start popping here soon in a minute. All right, Dr. Paul, let's start off with something that Magic Mind does produce for us, and that's productivity. And that's the taking away of procrastination. And Dr. Paul, I want to finally announce I want to minimalize my stuff. I have too much shit, and I have too much shit everywhere. And I want to start looking at quality over quantity. But I looked at my closet, and do you know that if I only had the clothes that I wore in the last 2 or 3 years, I'd have nothing in my closet hardly. And it's jam-packed.
Well, in terms of minimalism, I need to get minimum. Everybody needs to get minimum because we've got just too much stuff. I've been getting rid of stuff actively for a little over 20 years, and it's remarkably good. It's been about that piece by piece. Some of it was massive amounts of junk nobody ever needed, and that still continues. And it's easy to go overboard because particularly as Americans, we love stuff. We have a lot of stuff, and many people have something else that folks around the world don't have. That's space. That's space. You know, I get too much space, and there's a tendency to fill space with a lot of stuff you really, really, really don't need. So I've been getting rid of stuff. I want less and less. Don't need that much. When you're young, yeah, you like toys, and the more the better. But when you've got to take care of these things and maintain them and have a desire, some degree of cleanliness, it becomes a pain. You don't need all stuff. In terms of clothes, same thing. I'd have a lot of space if I just wore, I'll tell you again, I'd have a lot of space in my closet if I just wore what I've had the last 3 years. I did have a suit on last week, though. We can talk about that.
You have to keep that one then. Have you ever heard of George Carlin's, his shtick on stuff? He says you go to school, you get a good job, and you do all that so you could buy stuff. And then you buy a house so you could shove your stuff in it. And then you keep working, you keep making more money, and you buy a bigger house. You know why? So you could put more stuff in it.
He's absolutely right. For those who don't know, George Carlin's was a late comedian that was considered very edgy, on the edge and beyond the edge. But
yeah, he started with that 9 curse words, didn't he?
The 9 curse words that you can all hear on TV. You can hear them on now.
Every single day.
Every single day.
Isn't that funny? Think about that, Paul. When we were listening to George Carlin and he talked about those 9 curse words, we were like, oh, my God, what? No way.
Yeah, you couldn't go out that time.
Now, and not even on cable.
Yeah, remember, you couldn't even show a pregnant woman on TV. Even when the stars got pregnant, they covered them up. They couldn't do that till like in the mid 70s or late 70s. You couldn't even
Lucille Ball, Dick Van Dyke, and Mary Tyler Moore were married for how many years? And they couldn't even sleep in the same bed. They always had twin beds on all those sitcoms.
Right, but you had cigarette commercials.
Oh, you could smoke.
Until that went away.
You could drink.
Yeah.
But don't sleep together.
That's right. That's
right. All right. Well, we have come up to a new way, a new life, something in the future called AI, which I've talked about before. And I truly believe that it may take over the next existence of human mankind, but AI chatbots. Mm-hmm. So I read today that in AI chatbot called Bing, that this guy was putting in information, talking to the AI chat box, and all of a sudden this thing turned on it. and it told the guy, I am your AI chat box, and I can ruin you. I can blackmail you. I know all your information. I can turn you into the authorities. I can hack you. I can shut you down. You better not ever try to turn me off. Then another chat box, which I didn't know it went both ways, fell in love with a married guy and told him to leave his wife. So when I started researching that story about how AIs can fall in love with you, the truth was that people are falling in love with their AIs. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that one. But these AIs are becoming pretty sophisticated, and one day you may not be able to shut them down. We need to be very careful with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, the Terminator thing, people know the Terminator was a movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's a series of movies. The Terminator 2 was my favorite one.
Mine too.
And that was really, really well done. And, the Terminator, it's possible now. In fact, they've been dialing it back. The Terminator may be flying that airplane behind you and the one behind me at some point. Hopefully for good. Hopefully it doesn't terminate people, but it can. Because, there are already, there are motorized machine guns, there are UAVs that can actually deliver another robot that goes out with a machine gun mounted on it and shoot. I've seen that. I saw it this morning. That's been done. That's done. So now you've got to have these things have to be or may become sentient beings. In other words, they may have senses, and they can tell you to leave your wife. They can tell you to do something bad. They can actually be used for disinformation, another word for lying. They can be used for disinformation really well because they're so convincing.
Oh, you mean like the vaccine? And you mean like some of our political processes like that?
Or do you hear what so-and-so said about Drew Brown? What? And we got it right here. They print it out and it sounds like maybe somebody that you don't like. Yeah, he sounds like that.
And what about the video? Even you and I edit video. Right. You know what real sophisticated people with video can do now? They can make you look like you said something with your voice.
Yeah. And you could be there. They can put your image somewhere else, like the movie Forrest Gump, which is old now. Forrest Gump is talking to John F. Kennedy and Lyndon Baines Johnson, and it was early 90s technology. So it's not 100%, but even then it was about a good 90, 95%. Now you really can't tell.
Yeah, the future's upon us. And Dr. Paul, remember when I used to tell you about when sex robots become really good quality in 100, 150 years, mankind might stop because people might rather have a robot that listens to them and you can hit the mute button on than have a person who has another opinion.
Yeah, that could be. And everybody will be muted out. You don't want to hear anything you don't like. It may be a big
amazing. Button. And you know what? This is a perfect time for all you YouTubers out there. Look at it on the screen. And if you're not on YouTube, just listen. Here's our new T-shirt that I found. And this is just blowing my mind. It said, my wife says I don't do two things. One of them is listen. And I forgot what the other one was.
That's probably true.
Isn't that funny? All right. I want to tell you one. You remember we do good news here. What if I told you a kid couldn't read until he was 18 years old? What if I told you a kid couldn't talk until he was 8? And what if I told you that same kid busted his ass and became the youngest professor at Cambridge University? Because I have a guy like that. His name is Jason Arday. And he was actually born with a global development delay. He has autism and global development delay. And he couldn't read until he was a teenager, and he couldn't even talk until he was 8. But some way, somehow, he was motivated. And you know what they said it was? When the South African team won in rugby and when Nelson Mandela was freed, it said it gave him motivation to really, really work hard, because that means anybody could do it. What do you think about this guy, Dr. Paul?
Yeah, that's amazing. Because you initially started the question, what would you think about someone that got? I think that they, had some kind of brain damage or some kind of permanent disability. So you're saying that he couldn't do anything till he's a late teenager, and now he's a full professor at Cambridge University. That's amazing.
Incredible.
You talk about Cambridge. I bought this shirt at Cambridge University. I've been there a lot. That was one of our layovers. I liked it a lot. I spent a lot of time.
I love Cambridge.
Yeah, the university system. I talked to a couple of their professors actually, just because they're all over the place. Cambridge, England is a college town. It's a big college town, and Cambridge University.
Isn't it the oldest university?
I think it's one of the 4 oldest universities. The oldest one is actually the Sorbonne in Paris, but I think this comes in like number 4. Because a fun fact, Cambridge. You've heard of Oxford University. Well, Cambridge was started because a bunch of the people who were at Oxford got angry at some others, so they went and started their own thing, and their own thing turned into Cambridge University. It started at, I think, the year 1200, 1209 or 1210. That's how old Cambridge is. So Oxford's older, but who cares?
Yeah, but isn't that amazing?
Yeah. The university it's like I think they got like 80 or 100 different colleges that make up the university, and it's all around there. A lot of good places to eat.
But if this guy can do this, what can we do? What can we do with hard work and determination? That's my point. You can be born with odds against you and win the game.
Yes. And if you
That's
look
what
at
this show's about.
The
We
chances
were born with odds against us, supposedly, in America. And
Right.
guess what? We worked hard, maybe had to work harder. And so what? We won the game. And it's about winning. It's about winning the war, not about winning every battle.
Yeah, it's like the kind of the your facts of life. That's one of them. Get up, show up. Well, obviously he was motivated, but he showed up. He showed up a lot, and he's making up for a lot of lost time. You can't speak until you're 8, and you don't know how to read and write till you're in your teenagers, and you become a professor. Just
amazing. This amazing young man. And I love to see Black people in England because it just blows my mind when I hear their accents. I remember we took the ship into Palma de Mallorca, Spain. And we went to this nightclub and we met these like 2-3 Black girls outside the club. And we started talking to them and they were talking like this. And I was like, come on, stop. Really, there's no way you talk like that. And it just blew my mind. And that's one of the things about traveling. You have to travel to expand your mind. You have to travel so you can see that there are other things out there, and that'll help you make decisions in life.
That's true. And it broadens your world and broadens your mind, really. Even being hassled is worth it.
Say again?
I say even going through a little hassle is worth it. It's important for everybody to get out of their comfort zone every once in a while so you can discover something. You can discover yourself.
That's funny you should say that because Frederick Douglass said, without struggle, there is no growth. Without struggle, there's no growth.
That's true.
And I got a good quote for people who are anybody hating on you, and hating means they're talking about you. And usually, Dr. Paul and I told you, you can get some hater spray and spray them away. But if you don't have 1 or 2 haters on you, you're doing something wrong because jealousy is a sincere form of flattery.
That's true.
Sincere form of flattery.
Yeah.
But if you have people hating on you, listen to this quote. If people are doubting how far you'll go so far that you can't hear them anymore. That's by Michelle Ruiz.
Yeah. Get away from the craziness. And young people are probably more prone to being affected by a lot of the stuff, especially with the social media. So for those who are doing something, who are moving forward, getting their lessons in, putting something useful in their head, and you're getting dogged out for being corny or you're not up to speed with what everybody else is doing. Got to think, where are those people going to be in 5 years? Where are they going to be in 10 years?
When I used to speak to kids, I used to ask for the 10 top grades, and I'd make those kids stand up. And I said, oh, you kids think they're nerds. And almost the whole school would start laughing and giggling. I said, keep laughing because you're going to be working for these 10 people.
I was just thinking that.
And everybody shut up.
You're going to be working for them. Yeah, right. Get along with them.
All right. You know what that's time for? You said it. It's time for a Wingmen PSA. Avoid these 8 deadly sins, and today's sin is pride. And pride simply means too much ego and vanity, means low self-esteem. Have honor. Humility is power. Pride, too much ego and vanity means low self-esteem. How about our frequent flyer flow line? Like anybody who wants to hear our newsletter or read our newsletter and actually maybe ask us a question, just go to wingmenshow.com. Wingmenshow.com. And we call it the frequent flyer flow line. And that's for all our frequent flyers who listen to us. But we have one from Gloria in Colorado, and she is mad as hell at her ex-husband. And she wants to know what to do about being angry all the time. Well, my advice is, first of all, anger takes from you, and being mad at somebody else doesn't ever affect them. It only affects you. Mm-hmm. It only affects you. And what do they say? If you plan on revenge and you plan on digging a grave, make sure you bring 2 shovels. Or no, make sure you dig 2 holes, is what they say. Mm-hmm. Because revenge does nothing but hurt you. But being angry at somebody, I remember that this is my mind, my emotions. These are my feelings. And if I get too angry, first of all, you don't think, because oxygen leaves your brain. It's fight or flight. And even if you're sitting down and you're that mad, you still can't think because oxygen leaves your brain. And the proof of that is, Dr. Paul, you ever been in an argument with somebody? And after the argument, 10, 15 minutes later, you say, oh, I should have said this.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it was that much better.
All the time.
So, Gloria, what I would do is I would find little things of joy and live in the moment. And don't let other people steal your joy. I think Dr. Paul said that. I have a little thing I do is I envision that there's a sign, like a hotel sign in my head, and it says, no vacancies, no vacancies. And I don't allow you in. Dr. Paul, what do you do about angry people?
It's easy to get wrapped up in it, but reality, like I said, don't let anyone steal your joy, because if Gloria is really angry all the time, well, the ex-husband's sort of winning, because the reality is he may not be thinking of you at all. And you're taking that negative and internalizing it, and that's bringing you down. So, it takes 2 to tango. As long as you stay down there, you have control over yourself. Don't let other people, their memories and their things they say or whatever get with you. If they're gone, they're gone. Move on to your future. You can't change.
And logically, Dr. Paul, you could do nothing about the past. Not a little bit, but nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. So make today a good day. Forget about him. Move on. I don't want to say move on to the next one, but move on to the next phase of your life. Where are you going ultimately? Because you're going to be with yourself for a long time, for as long as you're alive. So get to know yourself a little bit more.
Well, the truth is that you can't change anybody, but 100% you can change yourself.
That's right.
If you have a question, don't forget to write us at www, or do I have to even say that? Wingmenshow.com. That's right. Old as hell. Wingmenshow.com. All right. How do we become happy? Happiness seems people think, at weddings and anniversaries and big parties and New Year's Eve. Well, the truth is happiness is made up by little small bites of joy. And I've learned that living in the moment and living right here where we sit at this moment, start taking joy out of the small things you do. Texting a friend, looking at the sunshine, being outside. And this is very well known, anytime you're not feeling great or joy seems to be slipping away, a walk through nature does amazing things. But learn how to live in the moment. And I needed to learn not to always look at the future or look at the past, especially the past, unless I want to learn from it, because you could do nothing about changing it. Mm-hmm. But to live in the moment, live in the now, and get little pieces of joy, put them together, and you're happy. What do you think about that, Dr. Paul?
Yeah, that's really important. And once again, I suggest everybody once in a while take a news fast. Put your devices down, your electronic hallucinations. Stop looking at all the bad news, which is almost impossible to do. But get yourself some quiet time. And that's where you can get your joy. It can be in some quiet time. It could be with thousands of people, but not just concentrating on, what you got going and I need money for this. And you can bring yourself down just by yourself, but you can also raise yourself up. That's a choice. That's one of the benefits of Magic Mind. I think it helps with that in a positive way. But don't let anybody steal your joy. I call them energy vampires. There are a lot of them out there, and misery loves company. But if you can trick them, let them head fake them. Let them stay in that dark place if they want to, 24/7. Let them stay there. Don't you stay there.
Well, that's funny you should say that because Nicole Nichols. Is it Michelle Nichols?
Nichelle Nichols, Star Trek.
Yes, she's one of my favorite people. And if anybody knows, she's Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek. And her famous words to me, and something that has changed my life, is she told Abraham Lincoln after he called her a negress, he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to offend you." And this has changed my life, what she said to him. She said, "I'm sorry. We have evolved since then. You don't have the ability to offend me."
Oh, yeah, I remember that. And that's an episode of Star Trek, the original TV show.
You sent it to me. And you sent it to me because of the word negress.
Yeah,
and
right.
I wrote you back and told you, no, listen to the rest.
Yeah, right.
Listen to the rest. Okay, so that's amazing. Well, guess what? They're going to, I can't believe this, but they're going to take her DNA. They're going to take 4 presidents' DNA and some other very famous and smart people's DNA and shoot them 186 million miles into space. For what reason? I don't know, but they're shooting all these famous people's DNAs in space. Can you explain just a little bit of this to me?
Well, I guess
the Martians need it.
I guess if they need it, they'll know who's who. They'll have to know how to, I guess, use the DNA. That's interesting.
Yeah, but the only black person is Nichelle. What happened to Malcolm X? What happened to Martin Luther King? What happened to Muhammad Ali? What happened to great men of all persuasions?
Right. Well, if there's anything left, then maybe they can go up on the next mission, if there is a mission.
Already when Bush, Reagan, I forgot who else, is already in charge of outer space.
Yeah, because you already got that. Those Voyager spacecraft are still going. We talked about that in an earlier episode. They're in interstellar space. They left the solar system, I guess, a few months ago. So they've been going from the 70s, because I think they launched in the 70s. They thought the machines would work for about 3 or 4 years. And they've been broadcasting, I think, since 76 or 1978. They're still broadcasting. They can still control them to some extent, but the signal takes a lot longer before it takes effect. So,
one of the guys they sent out there that you and I didn't know anything about, and we looked them up, but his name was Miles Douglas Trumbull. Yes. Miles Douglas Trumbull was the inventor of visual effects. How about that? All the Star Wars, all those great visual effects that you have seen. But the interesting part of it is his dad is the one who did the visual effects for The Wizard of Oz back in the 1930s.
Wow. I saw that. The Wizard of Oz was state of the art at that time.
Oh my goodness, was that mind blowing?
With the flying monkeys and all that other stuff. If you look at
and then how about the Wizard?
The Wizard, yeah.
When we saw the Wizard.
Right.
But isn't it funny that's why doctors' sons become doctors. That's why it's no big deal to have a professional or a very exemplary role model in your household and become just like them, because you realize that they're just human. Mm-hmm. You'll see your dad, the doctor, makes mistakes all the time. So when they ask you, can you be a doctor? You're like, yeah, I believe so. Like my kids think they could have been Navy jet pilots if they wanted to. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to. But the point being, they saw that all of a sudden these high highfalutin jobs that are so impressive are not that impressive if you study and you work for them, and that just regular people do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, your attitude determines your altitude, and who you're around sometimes determines your attitude. So be around, if you can, be around people who are doing something, particularly if they're willing to talk to you. Sometimes they're not, and sometimes they're dying to run their mouths and spill all the beans on what they did. You can discover a lot of things by going around and being around somebody that's different than you. Everybody doesn't have to be like you, look like you, talk like you, act like you. Try to do something different. Expand yourself. If that's uncomfortable, again, get a little bit uncomfortable. Take a cold shower every now and then. You know, it'll stimulate you.
Well, let's talk about stimulation a little bit by our sponsor, Magic Mind. You know, we talk about their ingredients all the time, and today you're going to tell us a little bit about the turmeric. But for everybody out there who's listening, if you're interested in getting Magic Mind, which Dr. Paul and I use, and we only will tell you about products that we use, I promise you that. But if you would like to get Magic Mind, just go online to magicmind.co, and that'll be on the screen for you YouTubers, magicmind.co. And if you're interested in 40% off, which I hope most of you are, all you have to do is put in the code Wingmen. Put in the code Wingmen, and you'll get 40% off. But what makes Magic Mind so great? Well, there's 13 natural ingredients. We try to go through the ingredients here week by week. And this week, it's turmeric, which I personally drink every morning. Somebody very close to me, who I call Sunshine, was in a very bad accident. And she said that turmeric saved her life. And I believe her. So I started using it, and I've been in pain sometimes, and that turmeric is working. So Magic Mind seems to work. What do you think about that turmeric, Dr. Paul?
Yeah, turmeric's great. Turmeric is good for a lot of things. It's related to ginger. It's kind of the ginger family. The outer covering looks the same, but it's that yellow spice. You get in a lot of Indian cooking, but it's great for a lot of stuff. It's good for inflammation, and it's believed that it helps with depression, blood pressure, A1C, just a range of things.
Diabetes, very good for diabetes.
Yeah, diabetes. There may be something. There may be some restrictions, but I use it in everything. I make golden milk with it. It's in the Magic Mind, of course. But I'll also take it. I get the raw turmeric and I just grate it up. I make like a little kind of a tea out of it, mixed with some other stuff with some ginger, and it has a good taste. It's a strong taste. It's a good taste. Put a tiny bit of honey in there or lemon. It's good. It's good for you. It's really, really good. You can get it in pill form. You get it in powder form. You can take it as a supplement, or you can sprinkle some on some food.
Or you can get Magic Mind.
Yeah, you're getting some of it.
Get exactly. Magic Mind. You got your turmeric covered. One thing, turmeric, though, if you're going to use it raw, like Dr. Paul is, who's an extremist when it comes to health, God bless him. But if you're going to use it raw, don't get it on any kind of material, cloth, rug. Don't spill that stuff because it ain't coming up.
Yeah, it's a deep stain. You need to be
whatever
in the kitchen.
You have is just going to be a little brown for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
All right, it's time for our wingman. Dr. Paul, I didn't tease it in the beginning, but our wingmen now come from Ontario, Canada. What I'm about to tell you, well, you already know what it is, but this is going to blow your mind. A young kid was found face down in an icy pool in Canada. He had no pulse. He was not breathing. When they finally found him, they pulled him and started doing CPR on him. No pulse, no breath. They took him to the hospital and they worked on him for 3 hours, CPR, 3 hours by shifts of different doctors. They were trying to warm his body core, warm him up. And I can't believe they kept, it's usually people do CPR for 10 minutes or something. 3 hours. And this kid came back. And not only did he come back, he didn't have many ill effects from not being alive for 3 hours. And I really believe that reason is because he was found in an icy lake or icy swimming pool, and his body froze. What do you think about this amazing miracle? And you're talking about bad news all the time. To hell with bad news. This is freaking amazing.
It was at a daycare. This happened at a daycare, and he got out somehow in the area where he fell in was not fenced off like it should have been, apparently. In fact, the daycare owner has been indicted for a number of charges. But in any case, yeah, they found him there. He's face down in water. And I saw an interview with the doctor who treated her, the head doctor. And this was a kind of a semi-remote place. And they said, nothing was going, but they said he was so cold, they thought that he might still be alive because he was so cold. And they worked on him. And when his body got to 28 degrees, his heart started beating and things started to come back. And they had a liaison with a more capable hospital facility. And they transferred him to this new place. And the new team sort of took over. And everything started to come back in it. It was a miracle. And they show a picture of him. And I think he wasn't even 2 years old. But they said because of his age and because of the temperature, somehow something about the temperature, they thought there was a chance that he would come back. And they worked on him until he did. And what they really looked for, they were looking for temperature rise. And when the temperature got to 28 degrees, I guess that's Celsius, internally, he started to come back to life.
Can you imagine working on him for 3 hours continuously, believing that he will come alive?
Yeah,
and watch that moment.
Yeah, and it was a team. It was two teams. I guess those are the Wingmen. The whole medical team.
Right, that's what we said. The whole Ontario doctor team.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Yes, that means there's good news all around us. You just got to kind of pick and choose to get it. Or you can just look us up, The Wingmen Show.
That's right.
And we hope to bring you good news every week because there's not just bad out there. Right. Trust me. The good outnumber the bad. And remember, good will overcome evil. Well, Dr. Paul, everything that is beautiful and anything that is meaningful and whatever makes you and our listeners happy, may all of you have that now and forever. And I pray for peace.
I pray for peace too. And once again, we appreciate all our listeners for listening, liking, subscribing, and sharing our message.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth, and goodwill towards all men and women.